Okay. Hi, Kristen. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me on today. I'm really excited to be here.
Well, my pleasure. Thank you for coming on the show. I was reading over your bio. I always love when we get people on who are food experts because once you've seen the show, you'll notice that I am a bit overweight and I love my food. Unfortunately, that's the problem, is that I love my food a little too much, I think. I've been trying. I have been trying. But would you consider yourself a culinary expert?
I would, and thank you because this is a great lead in for me. My background actually is culinary. So I started out in the food business. I have had several catering companies, I've managed restaurants, I've sold beer and wine. So I meet people at the intersection of lifestyle and wellness. So just what you're saying, I love food. I love to eat. Our family is that family. We go on a family vacation. We're sitting at coffee, nibbling our croissants, talking about where we're going to eat lunch. At lunch, we're talking about where we're going to eat dinner. So food
Yes.
is so important to our family culture and the joy of each day. So I don't take that away from people. I just meet them there and show them how they can kind of pivot so they can still enjoy food, but put their wellness on the fast track.
Well, we as Americans have a big problem with obesity in this country. I think we are number one in the world by a long shot for people that are suffering from being overweight. What would you attribute the number one cause of that to? Just the type of food that we eat, processed food, heavy carbs, heavy sugar, lack of exercise, all of the above?
All of the above, but it's not our fault because as consumers, we've been marketed to very heavily, and there's a lot of money to be made taking something that's healthy and processing the heck out of it and then turning it into a lot of other products. So we've been educated by companies trying to sell us their products. There's not a lot of money to be made telling people you should really be eating a largely plant based diet if you want to live younger, longer, and better and have a body you love that loves you back. So instead, we've been getting all this messaging: fat's bad, you need fat free foods, sugar's bad, you need sugar free foods, salt's bad, you need sodium free foods. It's a lot of telling us what we should do that's different than what we should be doing that our parents and great grandparents and great great grandparents did. So we've lost a lot of the food knowledge that should be coming to us being handed down at the dinner table. But because we're not sitting at the dinner table eating, it's gotten harder for the younger generations to get that right information.
I know that there was a big shift after World War II, and I think a lot of it had to do with women that were going to work, and the food companies needed to make things that were quick and easy because women no longer were slaves to the kitchen in there all day. I saw this represented in my family between my grandmother and my mother because my grandmother made everything from scratch. She was of the generation where women stayed home and took care of the kids, and right, she never worked an outside job. She certainly worked hard in the house and took care of my grandfather and the children, but she made everything from scratch: bread, vegetables, bought everything fresh. When I grew up, it was TV dinners.
Right,
And
right.
that was the shift. We never had a TV dinner when we went to grandma's. Never.
Oh, no.
No,
No.
no.
You're hitting the nail on the head. And it was about after World War II that there was this huge shift. And it was kind of like this perfect storm because women had to step up and take a lot of jobs that men had been doing previously. Um, but there's a fascinating story, and it's about spam because spam was actually ready to eat meat that was designed, it was an MRE, meals ready to eat, that was designed for the military. So when World War II ended, all these companies that had been making these meals ready to eat and food products for the military had to find a new market for their products. So that's where this big shift came in convenience foods. So there are a lot of stories about convenience foods. Spam is one of them. There's some marketing is incredible, what it's actually done and how it's sold us things that are not actually good for us. Crisco is another great story. Crisco is actually cottonseed oil. Cotton seeds are a byproduct of producing cotton, so they're a waste product. But if you do this 10-step process and you bleach it, you can actually make cottonseed oil look like lard. And lard was very expensive. It was a popular cooking fat. And actually, lard is a healthy cooking fat. But Crisco was then marketed as this perfect plant-based, better for you cooking fat, less expensive. It's going to make your pie crust flaky. When in reality, it really creates quite a lot of inflammation in the body. So what happened to us with food is a huge, as you said, Madison Avenue marketing shift and a getting away from eating closer to the earth, eating local food, eating food in season. We didn't have as many processed foods. Sugar was expensive. Fats were expensive. And that was a big shift. And then a lot more women were working, so convenience foods were the thing.
And then I think also with technology reducing manual labor for a lot of things, in lieu of going out and shoveling your driveway in Boston in the winter, you now have a snowblower with an electric starter that you just turn the key and brrr, and the snow's gone. So I think there's the lack of exercise in combination with all of the processed foods has turned an epidemic for the United States, yeah?
Yeah, and we are omnivores. So we're designed to eat both animal and vegetable. And the way this has worked really well for centuries is we didn't eat that much animal because animals were hard to get. They were expensive. So if you slaughtered a hog, you were going to use every part of that hog and you were going to make it last. You're going to make the bacon and use the fat and use the hide and, make the steaks and, all of those different things from that one animal. Use the bones to make broth. But we've gotten so far away from that. I mean, when I was a kid and you went to the grocery store, there were all parts of the animal that you could buy. And now everything, you can't even tell it came from an animal most of the time. It's all packaged and, a lot of people don't really even understand where their food comes from, how it was grown or raised, and why that's important. But as omnivores, we should be eating a lot of plants and a little bit of animal protein with some healthy fat in there. And what's really happened is we become carnivores that eat carbohydrates. And that creates this inflammation in our bodies. And the reason we're doing that is there's all this cheap animal protein available. So we're raising animals now in apartment buildings, this industrial animal farming. It's really quite horrifying. And, that's a whole nother show, and I'd be happy to come back and talk about that. But it's the animals are given a lot of hormones and antibiotics, and they live a stressed life. And all those stress hormones end up in the meat, and all those antibiotics and other hormones end up in the meat, which ends up on our plates, which ends up in our bodies. So we're eating more meat. We're eating cheap meat. These animals didn't live happy lives. We're not eating as many vegetables, so we're not getting all that essential fiber. It's the fiber that feeds the good bacteria in our gut. So it all comes down to gut health. We want to feed the good bacteria because the gut is what sends all the messaging to our brain about what we should be eating. So we want to have more fiber and less of these, cheap animal proteins and these refined carbohydrates and food that's got chemicals in it. And let me just say, Just because there are chemicals in food does not mean chemicals are food. So when we eat things that are not food, they create inflammation. So it is this perfect storm of we're not eating what this engine was designed to run on, because food in its most basic form is calories. Not all calories are created equal, because the calories in a bagel are different than the calories in an apple. And when we consume a calorie, so a calorie in its most essential form is energy. So that's, back to some high school science there. So food is fuel, but we're not using our food as fuel. We're using our food for mindless eating and, eating in front of our computers and eating the wrong foods. And that's creating this low level inflammation, which is linked to all those lifestyle diseases that none of us want to get.
You mentioned sugar, and on your bio, there's also a reference to sugar. We all kind of know that processed sugar is not good for us, the white refined sugar. But natural sugar is found in everything, and
Yeah.
especially in fruit. Is there any disadvantage to eating fruit? And the reason that I ask that is because years ago I tried the Atkins diet, which forbids you from eating fruit, and I lasted about a month on that diet. And I said, you know what? This is ridiculous. There is no way in the world that eating an apple and a banana every day is going to hurt me. It's just not possible. So I stopped that diet and I never went back. Do you agree
Yeah.
that fruit sugar is good?
Um, I have some thoughts on that.
Okay.
So I started the Culinary Cure, which is my website, and I have over 200 recipes, and I have all kinds of blog posts and things about sugar and sodium chloride, which is the salt that's in most of the food we eat, healthy fats, all kinds of resources to help people make better choices. Fruit is great for us because fruit, the sugars come attached with fiber and all these micronutrients and all these things that are really good for us because it's real food and our body knows what to do with it. The problem is people tend to eat a lot of fruit throughout the day, because not all people, but I'm just saying, like somebody's on a diet, maybe they're making a smoothie, and that smoothie, they're putting in, a banana and some peanut butter and some frozen mango and some pineapple. And all of a sudden, you're getting this sugar bomb. So, yes, eat fruit. And I tell people, fruit is great. Try to eat your fruit in season, and enjoy your fruit in the first half of the day so that your body can use that fruit sugar for fuel and not store it as fat. So eat your fruit in the first half of the day. That's a great way to get some of that delicious natural sugar, get those micronutrients, get some fiber. And because of the fiber in the fruit, it's going to metabolize differently than if you drink, for example, a glass of juice. Skip juice. You don't need juice. Juice is fruit without the fiber, and juice is just almost as bad for you as drinking like a cola or something.
Oh, okay, that's good. Good information. We've got about 1 minute left. You have a book that's out. You want to hold it up?
I
How
do.
Healthy People Eat, An Eater's Guide to Healthy Habits. So the book covers basically what we've been talking about and more.
So diets don't work. So I don't believe in diets. This isn't a diet book. This is a guide. This if you're an eater, you need this guide. This is a guide that teaches you how to eat, what you should eat, and it's really fun. I've made it really visual. So there's three
Oh, okay.
sections. The first section tells you how to eat, the second section tells you what to eat, and the third section tells you how to set up a culinary pharmacy and use herbs and spices as a way to help build that resilient wellness.
Thank you so much for coming on. Do you have a website that you want to give out?
I do. I would invite everybody to visit me at theculinarycure.com. And if you like what you've heard and you feel like you're ready to embark on a wellness journey, I have Healthy Habits 101. It's like a 20-page free downloadable book. It's got some recipes and it just gives you a starting point for taking back your wellness. You need to be your own best advocate, and nobody's holding you hostage and making you eat food that's not really good for you.
Well, Kristen, thanks so much for coming on. This was fun. Best of luck with everything you're doing.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.